what I'm saying in that last video is, you've got to try, if you're committed to marriage, you've got to try to be reconciled with your spouse, okay? But I just give that example in that video of an extreme example where that can't be possible. It is possible that there's someone in the marriage being violent or involved in domestic abuse where you can't be reconciled. And no matter how much you try or wanted to try, you've got to come to the conclusion that you're in danger. And your kids are in danger if you've got kids. And so you've got to protect yourself and protect your kids. And I don't think God is going to judge you for walking away from a marriage that is abusive. And it's as simple as that. But generally speaking, you've got to try and make the marriage work. Alright? Alright. So, barring domestic abuse, I would class domestic abuse personally as malicious. That person is being maliciously trying to hurt you, either mentally or physically. Alright? What you'll find generally in marriages is there's a lot of, there'll be in Christian marriages and non-Christian. I mean, a lot of Christian couples and churches and pastors and leaders have got their head in the sand. There's a wide held belief among Christians that most Christian marriages are healthy and everything's fine. But the reality is, everybody's got a skeleton in the closet. Everybody's got a sin they struggle with, and every marriage will have its problems. And the reality is that many Christian couples and couples who are not Christians will experience heightened conflict within their marriage. And some of those symptoms can be both spouses getting angry with each other, either screaming at each other, either slapping or even punching each other. I know couples, Christian and non-Christian, where they've each punched each other because they've been so frustrated and angry. And that's because the marriage is just not working and both couples are getting frustrated. This goes on all the time. That's the reality of it. So when a church or an individual group or a bunch of Christians find out that another Christian's slapped or punched their spouse, and it's all shock horror and everybody's thinks all abuse or whatever, you'll find if you talk to Christian couples, and if you talk to many couples, you'll find there's been massive arguments. They've probably slapped each other at one time. There are times in marriages where the pressure gets so heated that people do lose their temper. People who pretend that doesn't happen, people who pretend that doesn't go on, are just being dishonest. People who say that they've got a fantastic marriage and they never have any issues or problems, you're just not being honest. So what I'm saying is that in a marriage, it might have broke down to the point where you've been getting really angry with each other, frustrated with each other. There can either be symptoms in a marriage where you get so frustrated with each other that you both hit yourselves, that you can be hitting yourself and slapping yourself because you're frustrated. Alright? And the reason why that is because you're both not understanding each other, and the pressure and the tension of the marriage is getting so bad that rather than push your anger out, you internalize your anger inside. And you begin to internalize your anger inside. So some people will get depressed, or some people will get will go into a corner and be depressed and not be able to talk to the spouse. Some people will self-harm. Might be with drink, it might be with drugs. Some people might trying to deal with the pressure by going off into pornography, or into an illicit relationship. What I'm saying is that when you get this conflict, the anger and the frustration might come out outward, physically, or it might be internalized. But the bottom line is this: is that when a marriage is breaking up or is not working, these things happen. That's the reality. And the reality is that this is going on. This will be going on in your church with couples in different ways. Couples will be struggling, but just hiding, pretending that there's nothing going on, but actually things are not happy. And I think one thing that people don't realize, when you're married, there's a very, very special thing that goes on when you're married. You're very, very close to each other. So it's not like you can have your own space. When something goes wrong when you're single, you can go off, walk in the park, and there's no pressure on you. You can just go off, go for a walk, or you can go and do your own thing. But if something goes wrong in a marriage, the person who you're married to, you've got to meet their need. And so if you're not getting on with them and you're frustrated and you can't get your space, that will make you more depressed. That will get you upset. That will get you angry. And same with them. If they can't get their space, that will get them depressed, get them angry. So problems are compounded when you're married if conflict is happening and not getting on. This is just the reality. I know it sounds this is just horrendous, but this is the fact. This is the reality of many marriages, whether Christian or non-Christian. This is the reality, and we've got to deal with the reality. It's no good in your church. Many pastors and leaders and churchgoers and married couples have their head in the sand and pretend that there are no problems. And when the problems hit and marriages split up, everybody goes, oh. But people should know that there are these problems and be willing to exercise more understanding. That's the key. We've got to be more understanding and more gracious and kind and helpful to people in these difficulties. For example, you'll find that the world, the non-Christian world, the church, the non-church, is actually more gracious and exercise grace to couples breaking up or to couples having struggles in their marriages. They're actually more realistic and more gracious than the actual church that thinks that when you get married everything should be perfect, and if it's not perfect then you're a wicked, vile person and there must have been some wicked thing. The reality is that when you've got kids and you're working and you're trying to pay your mortgage and you're trying to get on and do your best for your family, and you've got issues and baggage, and your husband or wife's got baggage from past relationships, and you get married and there's all this stuff coming together, you're going to have conflict, you're going to have difficulties, people's tempers are going to be lost sometimes, people are going to get frustrated, and marriages are going to struggle. Alright? So I'm painting the reality. The reality is these things happen. And I want you as a couple, as an individual, to realize that that's the reality. But you committed to marrying that person. Now you've got to make it work. And you say, well, all that stuff, I've experienced some of that stuff, Jay. You're really saying I've got to try and make it work? And the answer is yeah. And this is how I'm going to help you to try and make it work. Okay? So the first thing is, the first port of call is you two need to make sure that you meet and talk. That's the first thing. Put your worries aside, put your hurts aside, whatever. You two need to make sure that you meet and talk. If you need your pastor there with you, or the eldership with you, or maybe your family with you, or a counsellor with you, but somehow, whichever both of you are comfortable with, don't force the other to accept which way. Both come to a neutral understanding of who you want there, or maybe you just want to be alone together, but you meet up and you work it through, you talk. And when you talk, let the other person speak and you listen. And listen for once in your life. Listen. The reason why you've got to this point where there's ultimate conflict and now you've separated, or there's so much resentment between both of you, the reason why you've got to this point is because both of you were not listening. And so when you get to that table, or when you get to work out your problem, shut up and listen. Let the other person talk and you listen. And then you put yourself in their position. You've got your hurts, that you've got your gripes, you've got the things that they've said and they've done to you, they've hurt you, and you're justified in that hurt. But for once, just put it aside and say, let me understand you. Why are you saying this? Why are you behaving like this? I don't understand. And try and put yourself in their position. And vice versa. If you both don't do that, I can tell you this, your marriage is going to split up. If you don't try and ask the Lord to help you put yourself in their situation. How does my wife feel? How does my husband feel? Why are they hurt? Why are they saying this? Why are they doing this? If you don't do that, then it's going to still continue to be conflict. Because it's all about you, my hurts, my rights, you've done this to me, and blah blah blah, and they're my rights, and you're never going to get it sorted. So say, I don't understand why you're getting angry with me. I don't understand why you're getting ratty with me. I don't understand why you say these things. I don't understand it. And listen to them. And if they're a Christian and if they love you, they will do the same to you. They will listen to you. Okay? So when things break down, you've got to get together, talk together. I think also, time of prayer, praying together, time of reading the Word together. Don't expect anything from each other. Just spend time with Jesus together. Spend time in the Word together. Spend time in prayer together. Be willing to acknowledge your own faults. Don't always stand up for your right all the time. Don't say, well, you hurt me here, you hurt me there. Be willing to say, I'm sorry, I said that, I shouldn't have said that. I did that, I shouldn't have did that. I shouldn't have done that. I'm really, really sorry, please forgive me. Be willing to acknowledge your own sin. If both of you, if just one of you plays the self-righteous, I'm right, you're wrong, the marriage is going to break up. If the wife says, oh well, I didn't say anything nasty to you, I didn't do anything wrong, well, the marriage is not going to get reconciled, because you're not perfect, you're going to make mistakes. And if the husband says, I never did anything wrong, it was not me, it was you, you're not thinking of my needs, the marriage is not going to move forward. As a husband and wife, you've both got to say, I'm sorry I failed you there. I'm sorry I said that wrong. You've got to be willing to be humble yourselves there. I was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have said this. I shouldn't have done that. That will cement the marriage more than anything, that you're being honest with each other and willing to acknowledge your faults. It's when you become self-righteous, or you play the victim and you say, it's them, not me. You're providing no way forward for each other. There's got to be give and take on both sides. Alright, so be willing to acknowledge your faults.